Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Consulate General of India, Birmingham, I extend a warm welcome to all of you for joining us in the virtual celebration of Constitution Day to commemorate the day of adoption of Indian Constitution. India, also known as Bharat, is a union of states. It is a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic with a parliamentary system of government. The republic is governed in terms of the Constitution of India, which was adopted by the Constituent Assembly on 26th of November 1949 and came into force on 26th of January 1950. Now to begin with, I welcome Consul General of India in Birmingham, Dr. Sasank Vikram, for his address on this occasion.
Namaskar. Good morning. I extend a warm welcome to everyone on this celebration of the Constitution Day of India, also known as Samvidhan Divas. 72 years ago, on this day, November 26, 1949, 299 members of the Constituent Assembly of India met and formally adopted the Constitution of India in New Delhi, which thereafter came into effect on 26 January 1950. The Constitution of India is the foundational law which lays the basic political structure of our country. It embodies the vision and values of our founding fathers. It reflects the hopes and aspirations of the people of India. Through the Constitution, the people of India resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic, and to secure justice, liberty, and equality for all citizens. In India, we speak different languages, we worship different gods, we eat different foods, we wear different clothes, but there is a feeling of oneness and common consciousness that keeps us together, make us proud of our nation, India. The Indian Constitution is the lengthiest and the most detailed constitution of the world. However, in simple words, as put by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, it embodies two fundamental principles: dignity for Indians and unity for India. The Constitution is a living document. Chairman of the drafting committee and principal architect of the Constitution, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar said, "Constitution is not a lawyer's document, it is a vehicle of life, and its spirit is always the spirit of age." Constitution Day is an occasion for celebration of 1.3 billion Indians, definitely, but it is also an occasion for celebration for the humanity when 1/6 of its population celebrates the anniversary of its constitution, which guarantees justice, social, economical, and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual. The diversity of India has been unified due to the Constitution of India. The Constitution provides basic structure for our polity and society. India is often the perfect example to showcase unity in diversity, which has been possible due to the solid foundation laid by our Constitution. Today, we also pay tribute to the father of Indian Constitution, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, who was the chairman of the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly to prepare draft of the Constitution of India. It was his vision and the great sense of social justice which has made this Constitution truly a great document. Dr. Ambedkar's personal and professional life has been an inspiration for many generations and continues to inspire millions across the world. Now, I look forward to the deliberations from Dr. P. Anand, Reader in Environment, Economics and Public Policy Center for International Development, the University of Bradford, and all the other proceedings of today. I wish you all the very best. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. The Constitution defines the main organs of the Republic of India: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, and defines their power and demarcates their responsibilities. To take this forward, I would welcome Professor Pratibha Anand from University of Bradford, who is a specialist in environmental economics and public policy with a focus on the interface of urban economy.
Hello, my name is P.B. Anand. I'm Professor of Public Policy and Sustainable Development at the Department of Peace Studies and International Development at the University of Bradford here in England. It's my enormous privilege to share a few thoughts on the Constitution of India. I'm sure everyone is familiar with the preamble to the Constitution, which has those gripping kind of words beginning with "we, the people." Throughout the Constitution, I think this idea of a living document is very much reflected in various provisions. This is an enormous tribute to be paid to the designers of the Constitution. If we think of Constitution of India as an edifice on which day-to-day functioning of Indian governance takes place, the framers of the Constitution should be appreciated for their enormous kind of a vision and foresight that they have had to frame this Constitution as a living, dynamic kind of a document that does not prescribe how to lead one's life, but that provides at the same time the necessary guiding principles for the state to function. So you have obviously the part which deals with the directive principles of state policy come to mind. Today, of course, we are familiar with Sustainable Development Goals, and before that we had the Millennium Development Goals. So for us, this kind of directive ideas is very interesting, but to now think that in 1949 they were able to come up with something like that is something very interesting to consider. For me, the other part that is also something that always kind of strikes is the Part 4A about the fundamental duties of the citizen as well. So you have fundamental rights, which is very important. But along with the fundamental rights, there is also this section about fundamental duties of the citizen. For me, that sounds, again, something quite unique. So here it is mentioned about the idea of, to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired the national struggle for freedom. So that word "inspired" is already there. And to uphold and protect the sovereignty, okay, those things I think you can expect in any other. But I think again F in that the 51AF, which talks about to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. So I think that is again a recognition of the plurality of the Indian, if you like, the polity that was very much there, and to develop the scientific temper. I don't think you will find many constitutions or laws that would have this word, this expression, scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry. I have had the privilege to work on the Constitution of India, and use that very much especially in the application with regard to the 73rd and 74th Amendment Acts, with regard to giving, if you like, empowering local government. And so in that experience, I had the privilege to work with one of the great constitutional lawyers. So from him, from Mr. P.K. Ghosh, I learned a lot. And during that time, I was able to actually understand how important a document the Constitution of India is, but also why it is important. I think it is this ability to provide a structure that can withstand the tests of time, that enables new ideas, new technologies, etc., to develop. But at the same time, the basic principles of interaction between the citizens and the state, and the ideas of governance and the checks and balances that have been envisaged all those many years ago, 1949. It just, every time you think about it, you just have this feeling of your hair standing up. And I think also many of the provisions we ordinary citizens may not be able to understand, but I think Supreme Court judges, honorable judges, have many times interpreted these for us, and from that we learn more in terms of what has been the background, what has been the reason for having those kind of provisions. So in a nutshell, if I have to say, I think the Constitution of India is quite a unique document for coming up with a document that can deal with a complex and composite polity that is India, with different kind of aspirations, different languages, different people, different cultures, and that plurality, immense plurality that is there. So a single document that can deal with that, I think, is an enormous achievement. And number two, also, that I think it expects every citizen to aspire excellence, aspire to achieve that excellence. And those provisions are also mentioned there in terms of protecting not only the rights of the citizen and having that freedoms, etc., and balanced along with that, this idea of a sense of duty and being able to bring out the best in oneself. To me, I think that those are always hugely inspirational moments. I'm sure there are others who know much more than I do, but these are some of my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Anand. To understand the Constitution of India better, we have a small documentary produced by the Lok Sabha television. Let's watch.
I am your Constitution, Constitution of Independent India. I was adopted on 26 November 1949 and came into effect just 2 months after on 26 January 1950. On this day, I made India sovereign, socialist, secular and democratic republic. With my coming into force, I gave citizens justice, equality and liberty and endeavor to promote fraternity among them. To make people understand my importance and spread thoughts and ideas of my father, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Constitution Day or Samvidhan Divas is celebrated on November 26 every year. The citizens of India pay great tribute to the framers of me. They view that it is this holy book that gave them the right to choose their representatives and consequently also subject to certain duties and obligations. American lawyer Patrick Henry once said, "The Constitution is not an instrument for the government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government." My power can be defined from the fact that I am country's supreme law and defines the framework of basic political principles. I am a living document and establishes the main organs, executive, legislature and judiciary, defining their powers, demarcating their responsibilities and regulating the inter-se relationship. The Holy Book lays down the basic structure of governance and the relationship between the government and the people. The rights and duties of citizens are too spelled out. It is the mother of all other laws of the country. Every law enacted by the government has to be in conformity with me. Constitution is the soul of democracy. India is a democracy with a federal system of government. One of the strengths of the Constitution is that it is a dynamic instrument that can evolve with time either by interpretation or amendment. Basic structure of the Constitution cannot be altered or destroyed with constitutional amendments. I have been derived from Latin word constituto, used for regulations and orders, mostly imperial enactments.
India's constitution is perhaps the most voluminous constitution in the world, which is true. It had to be, because India was in a way a continent. It is not a country, it is a continent where so much diversity, language, religion, culture, all kind of things, okay? And therefore, Constituent Assembly had to draw a samjhota. Certain things cannot be compromised. So those were rigid. And to me it appears India's constitutional democracy has functioned very well.
I have a long history before my adoption coming in effect. The seeds of me were sown many years prior of giving birth. The process of my evolution began decades before India became independent in 1947. My origins lie deeply embedded in the struggle for independence from Britain and in the movements for responsible and constitutional government in the princely states. Leading constitutional expert Subhash Kashyap explains the importance of me and says that I provide a medium to people to be governed by a system.
Constitution is not merely the name of a book. It is not merely an inert document, but it is a living, dynamic process. It is always in the making.
26 November is celebrated as Constitution Day or Samvidhan Divas. The Constitution took a significant amount of time to be framed. The drafting of Constitution is now considered to be a monumental feat of democracy for which the members deserve immense respect. The idea of Constituent Assembly for India was put forward for the first time by M.N. Roy in 1934. Until May 1, 1945, there was no important work done in the direction of framing me. After July 1945, the Cabinet Mission drafted a constitution building work to build one member from 10 crore population. This offer unfortunately did not spell out, as the vague aspect proved that the British reluctantly agreed to this idea of Constituent Assembly and were not serious about its implementation. The Congress Party started on a fresh note and initiated the individual civil disobedience movement to register their protest. In 1942, the British government appointed Cripps Mission. The Cripps proposals categorically stated that framing me would be the sole responsibilities of the Indians alone. In July 1946 itself, a committee consisting of Nehru as the chairman and Asif Ali, K.T. Shah, D.R. Gadgil, K.M. Munshi, Humayun Kabir, R. Sanathan and N. Gopalaswamy Iyengar as members was constituted to prepare material and proposals for framing me. The Constituent Assembly met for the first time in New Delhi on 9th December 1946 in the Constitution Hall, which is now known as Central Hall of Parliament House. On 11th December, Dr. Rajendra Prasad was chosen by election as the first permanent chairman of the Assembly.
The Constituent Assembly consisted of some of the wisest and the most learned men, distinguished jurists and others. And in their wisdom, they decided largely to continue the system that had already been developed. And they made only the minimum necessary changes resulting from the independence of the country.
Overwhelmed and jubilant, the honourable members sat in semicircular rows facing the presidential dais. The desks, which would be warmed electrically, were placed on sloping green carpeted terraces.
Those who were sitting in Constituent Assembly, they were men of very broad heart and broad shoulder, and they had such a great accumulated experience of working in a society and understanding of other societies also. That was a very important factor which was behind the kind of constitution we have, number one. And it is because of their experience, what they did, before they started making their constitution, they kept in their views all kind of constitutional which were in operation at that time. And they also kept in mind the ethos of Indian society. They kept in mind that India has been under the British regime for more than 2 centuries. Number two, they also knew that some kind of parliamentary system India has already experienced, maybe 1935 Act, maybe the later commission. So some exposure was there.
Those who adorned the first row were Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Acharya J.B. Kriplani, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sarojini Naidu, Hare Krishna Mahatab, Pandit Govind Ballabh Pant, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Sarat Chandra Bose, C. Rajagopalachari, and M. Asaf Ali. 207 representatives, including 9 women, were present.
The last 2 days, Dr. Ambedkar and Dr. Rajendra Prasad, both in different words, had said that whether the constitution proves to be good or turns out to be bad will depend upon how it is actually worked in practice, and who are the people who are called upon from generation to generation to work it. If they are men of character, if they are men of competence, men of integrity, then even if the constitution has some defects, it will prove to be good.
The inaugural session began at 11 a.m. with the introduction of Dr. Sachidananda Sinha, the temporary chairman of the assembly, by Acharya Kriplani. The first day's proceeding ended after all the 207 members present submitted their credentials and signed the register. The Constituent Assembly took almost 3 years, 2 years, 11 months and 17 days to be precise, to complete its historic task of drafting the Constitution for independent India. During this period, it held 11 sessions covering a total of 165 days. Of these, 114 days were spent on the consideration of the draft constitution. As to its composition, members were chosen by indirect election by the members of the provincial legislative assemblies according to the scheme recommended by the cabinet mission. The total membership of the assembly was to be 389. However, as a result of the partition under the Mountbatten Plan of 3rd June 1947, a separate constituent assembly was set up for Pakistan and representatives of some provinces ceased to be members of the assembly. As a result, the membership of the assembly was reduced to 299. On 13 December 1946, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru moved the Objectives Resolution. This Constituent Assembly declares its firm and solemn resolve to proclaim India as an independent sovereign republic and to draw up her future governance as me. This resolution was unanimously adopted by Constituent Assembly on 22nd January 1947. Late in the evening on 14th August 1947, the Assembly met in the Constitution Hall and at the stroke of midnight took over as the Legislative Assembly of an independent India.
The notable constitutions of other countries were first consulted.
They accepted American model but not presidency. They accepted British model parliamentary system, but still they gave a lot of power to Indian Supreme Court. So much so that in America, the entire constitution has been rewritten. Entire polity is different than what it was when the constitution was adopted. And largely this happened because American Supreme Court exercised the power of judicial review.
On 29th August 1947, the Constituent Assembly set up a drafting committee under the chairmanship of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar to prepare a draft of me. While deliberating upon the draft of me, the Assembly moved, discussed and disposed of as many as 2,473 amendments out of a total of 7,635 tabled.
Constitution makers made the constitution partly flexible and partly rigid. The three organs of governance, parliament, executive drawn out of parliament and accountable to Lok Sabha, and independent judiciary, they are the pillars of our democracy. The accountability is there, flexibility is also there. Elections, for holding elections, an independent election commission is there. For holding institutions to account, judiciary is there, judicial review is very vital in our country.
I was adopted on 26 November 1949 and honourable members appended their signatures to it on 24 January 1950. In all, 284 members actually signed on my holy book. The then President of Indonesia, Sukarno, was the first guest of honour in India for the Republic Day celebration in 1950. Prem Bihari Narayan Raizada, wrote my entire holy book in a flowing italic style in the best calligraphic tradition of our country. Nandalal Bose took up the historic task of beautifying and decorating the original manuscript of me. The original copy of me is kept under helium-filled box in Parliament Library building. I was ready on 26 November 1949 and was implemented on 26 January 1950.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite Sri Hitesh Saxena, Head of Chancery, for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. With this, we have reached the end of our virtual celebration of 73rd Constitution Day of India. On behalf of the Consulate General of India, Birmingham, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to Professor Prativadi Anand from Bradford University, who took valuable time out to give us his thoughts on the Constitution. I would also like to thank all our viewers for watching our programs, and we hope you liked it. As always, we look forward to hearing your feedback and comments. You may write to us on events.birmingham@nea.gov.in. Jai Hind.